Through Kyrie when he had his role masa tu jadi Menteri Belia dan Sukan. Pada tahun 2016 dia telah memperkenalkan satu inisiatif di mana atlet-atlet sukan para dengan atlet-atlet neurotypical, atlet yang lain diberi kesamarataan.
Special Olympics ni is basically untuk mereka yang ada intellectual disabilities atau mereka yang neurodivergent. Ia bermula sejak tahun 1968 ya. And bezanya daripada Paralympic in a sense that Paralympics is held every 4 years sama seperti Olympic, tetapi Special Olympics ni is alternating every 2 years.
Effort kita untuk include mereka ada mereka punya effort untuk attempt tu kan, dan kita lah yang perlu beri mereka peluang, perlu beri mereka ruang dan semangat lah untuk berjaya dalam apa-apa yang kita nak anak kita cuba. Hai, Assalamualaikum. Selamat datang ke podcast Kita Family. Hari ini saya Didi dari Kota Kinabalu bersama 2 orang di studio di Kuala Lumpur. Kita ada Nori.
Assalamualaikum. Hai Didi.
Hai. Kita ada Desri.
Hai, selamat sejahtera.
Dalam podcast ini, kami akan membincangkan perihal yang berkaitan dengan makna serta kepentingan hidup bermasyarakat, menghargai keunikan serta kepelbagaian sesama kita dan meraihkan masyarakat kita yang berbilang agama, kaum, kepercayaan, rupa dan juga keupayaan. Kita menghargai hidup secara inklusif yang mengambil kira keperluan segenap lapisan masyarakat, terutama bagi mereka yang kurang atau berkelainan upaya. Well, hari ini kalau mereka yang menonton mungkin tengok snippet kita, tengok kita di YouTube, dari nampak video kita, kenapa baju lain ni? Lain daripada yang lain. Kita ada tema yang special kali ni, iaitu sukan. Kenapa sukan? Sebab pada ketika rakaman dibuat, telah bermula upacara Paralympic di Paris. Dan of course, tim kita, kontingen Malaysia juga bertanding di sukan tersebut. Kita mulakan dengan Nori, mungkin ada sedikit introduction about Paralympic maybe?
Okay. Terima kasih Didi. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot of nostalgia about this. That's why baju lama Fit Malaysia pun keluar. So, inspirasi untuk episod ke-29 pada kali ini merupakan tamasya sukan lah antarabangsa yang sangat besar. It's the next big one to Olympics, which is Paralympics. And kita ada contingent dari Malaysia seramai about 30 athletes, I think. 30 atlet para. So of course satu harapan kami adalah supaya rakyat Malaysia semua akan terus bersemangat untuk menyokong dan menghantar doa, your prayers, your good wishes, everything to our athletes who are going to be there too. Not just because Olympics is over, so it's still continuing. I think saya tak nak cakap begitu lama lah sebenarnya sebab ini sukan para ni menjadi inspirasi kepada episod kita hari ini untuk kita membuka perbincangan tentang kepentingan bersukan, kepentingan untuk activity physical, right? Movement, sports, physical movement. Why is it so important for neurodivergence and for people with disabilities, right? It's important sebenarnya for all human beings. Maybe a little bit more extra important if you do have a disability or you're neurodivergent. But just a little bit of history with Paralympics, right? Quite special to my family in particular. Sebab, through Kyrie when he had his role masa tu jadi Menteri Belia dan Sukan. Pada tahun 2016 dia telah memperkenalkan satu inisiatif di mana atlet-atlet sukan para dengan atlet-atlet neurotypical, atlet yang lain diberi kesamarataan, right? There was parity for their recognition. in sports. It was something that he pushed for, and it's something that now alhamdulillah all Malaysians menjadi satu kebanggaan bagi kita yang mulakan dulu di rantau ini. I remember the quote he had at that time, sebab pada masa sebelum ini diadakan, imbuhan yang diberikan untuk memenangi pingat ke mana-mana, tamasya antarabangsa and all that antara atlet typical, right, atlet yang biasa berbandingkan atlet para, mereka cuma menerima 30% dari apa-apa imbuhan yang diberikan kepada atlet yang lain. So pada masa tu kami kata, saya tak tahu macam mana nak rasa bangga terhadap mereka pada tahap 30% je. Kalau saya bangga dengan atlet negara kita, saya akan bangga 100%. So kita patut mengiktiraf mereka jugalah, in that way, right? So that's how it happened. So bermula dengan masa tu Olympics di Rio Brazil 2016. And then tiba-tiba kita dah sampai ke 2024, after the pandemic and things like that. So I think kita ambil peluang dalam episod ni untuk mengucapkan I think everything lah. Good luck.
Yes.
All the best. Malaysia boleh, as much to our para athletes. We are so proud of you, so excited for you. And I think kita semua tahu tentang satu statistik yang, it's a fact. So let me not put a value judgment to it. Tapi kalau atlet para kita pernah memenangi pingat emas, Malaysia masih menunggu pingat emas untuk Olimpik kan. So kita mengharap bahawa akan adalah lagi juga tambahan kepada pingat emas. Macam mana pun kita terus merakamkan sokongan kita dan mengharapkan yang terbaik, and then hopefully everybody also comes home safely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
InsyaAllah. Betul, selamat maju jaya kepada contingent kita di Paris sekarang. I still remember kan masa Ziyad Zulkifli menang pingat emas di Rio tu, and then memang semua orang share kan moment of lagu Negaraku dimainkan. Kita punya bangga betul macam apa yang Khairi cakap kan, kita punya bangga tu sama je. Saya rasa kalau kita menang pingat emas Olimpik pun bangga kita macam tu juga. Memang saya rasa kita punya sharing dekat social media kan, semua orang share, semua especially yang ada anak-anak OKU kan, kita share betapa bangga kita kan. It was a very big moment, memang historical. And then masa tu bukan satu je, rupanya kita dapat pingat emas kedua kan pada tamasya yang sama. So it was great, and hoping that tahun ni kita mendapat kejayaan yang lebih baik insyaAllah. Selain daripada Paralimpik, ada satu lagi tamasya yang dipanggil Special Olympics. Jadi kalau boleh Desiree ceritakan sikit apa beza Paralimpik dengan Special Olympics?
Boleh, terima kasih Didi, dan firstly saya pun juga ingin mengucapkan selamat maju jaya to our Paralympians, dan seperti Didi dan Nori kata tadi, in 2016 pingat emas tu, if I can say, maybe rasa lebih bangga sebab
kita sebagai parents
parents, and the fact that I think it's that much harder to train. Kan kita pun fully able body, nak pergi gym pagi-pagi or nak bangun pagi bersenam is, and imagine those who have physical challenges tapi boleh sampai ke tahap menang pingat emas. And I would like to say I'm extremely proud of all those who made it to the Paralympics, because that itself is an achievement, kan?
Of course.
So beza, ada lagi satu tamasya which is Special Olympics. So mungkin saya boleh terangkan sedikit. Special Olympics ni is basically untuk mereka yang ada intellectual disabilities atau mereka yang neurodivergent. Ia bermula sejak tahun 1968 ya. And bezanya daripada Paralympic in a sense that Paralympics is held every 4 years, sama seperti Olympic, tetapi Special Olympics ni is alternating every 2 years. Kan, so there is summer and winter games juga, dan focus is on, and this is the beautiful part lah that I love, the ayat-ayat yang kita jumpa ni bila buat research, focuses on participation, inclusion and personal achievement rather than elite competition. Bukan berkata competition tu tak penting, penting, tetapi semangat dia is more on the inclusion and participation part, where everyone has a chance to participate.
Yes.
Dan ada satu seperti tagline lah yang kita semua berbincang sebelum kita mula recording tadi kan. This
Every time I
this
hear it, I
line,
get emotional.
exactly, it touches you to your core, right? So it says, let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in my attempt. Dan saya rasa
That's the ikrar of the
Yes.
athlete di Special Olympics kan.
betul. Dan kalau nak ikutkan, saya rasa ikrar ni memang untuk semua parents yang ada anak yang berkelainan atau kurang upaya, kan? Even if you certain things, certain goals, milestones we can achieve, it's okay. We are brave in our attempt to get there.
Termasuklah kan effort kita untuk include mereka. Mereka ada mereka punya effort untuk the attempt tu kan. Dan kita lah yang perlu beri mereka peluang, perlu beri mereka ruang dan semangat lah untuk berjaya dalam apa-apa yang kita nak anak kita cuba.
Did you ingat tak? Ada, I think masa tu ada dokumentari yang keluar kerana menunjukkan kebanggaan kita lah terhadap atlet para. I have to apologise. I don't remember which was the athlete, but masa ibu dia, I think ditemu bual, dia mengatakan, dia kata masa anak dia kecil pada masa tu, dia bayangkan bahawa dia mungkin macam dia rasa dia terpaksa akan jaga anak dia lah sampai bila-bila and all that, dan rasa macam ada banyak cabaran, kekangan and all that sebagai seorang anak OKU kan. Dia tak sangka pun pada satu masa anak dia not just dapat berdikari, anak dia pula lepas tu just macam anak lain dapat jaga and take care of the parents sebab dia dah berjaya. It's like, it was definitely a wonderful story lah. I think that's why our community in particular, kita memang sangat touch lah. Kita memang rasa tumpang bangga lah. Emosi tu pun, everything is just, and then of course pada temasya mana-mana tu pun kalau dapat dengar negaraku berkumandang, it's like wow, it's that's everything.
Absolutely.
The flag going up, the song, I think kita tengok TV pun kita berdiri.
Mesti.
It's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. So there's this opportunity. I think I should also mention, nanti kita akan share lah dalam show notes more information. So lepas ni siapa nak tahu dengan lebih terperinci tentang how like maybe how to get in touch, right, with Special Olympics yang ada di Malaysia. Malaysia juga ada Special Olympics. Kita juga pernah menghantar atlet kita ke mana-mana. Tapi we have sort of different cawangan. For example, Sarawak has a very active Special Olympics, punya their own their own teams and things like that in terms of training and the kind of sports that is available in Semenanjung. Also, it's kind of split up. So there's ways to do that, and also of course macam to understand a little bit more like Majlis Paralympic and all that, we can definitely share a little bit more about it.
Dan kita juga nak cerita sikit lah tentang perbezaan sukan dalam temasya sukan biasa macam Olimpik, SEA Games dengan temasya Paralympics ni. Kita ada beza dari segi acara-acara yang dipertandingkan. Contoh macam basketball, kita ada basketball yang lain kan. Contoh ada wheelchair basketball. Lagi ada tak contoh-contoh lain?
Ada macam-macam.
Yes.
Like now we're talking about the list of things.
Swimming pun ada kategori.
Paracycling ada. Kalau volleyball, like floor volleyball pun ada. I mean, and of course the thing is that sekarang because of technology and things like that, there's adaptive equipment, right?
Yes, adaptive
so
equipment.
like sit skis, for example, and then those like, have you seen those Blade Runners? Kan, the sprinters, and they have like, I mean, they are so cool, right? They look like they're from like the future. It's so I would say that banyak sukan ada versi OKU.
Yes.
There are different versions, badminton, tennis, all the different sports that you can imagine and talk about, there usually is. But see, this is the thing yang antara mungkin menjadi kekangan untuk kita like to find new athletes and then for development of the sport and also the athletes in the sport, because sometimes I feel like there's probably not enough done in terms of being able to train, right? Train and expose, and not enough of a collaboration with the main sport, which is done by the majority. I think this is something that has to kind of come together, right? If we want to continually see growth in the areas of Paralympics or even Special Olympics, it's like sometimes awareness tak ada, exposure pun tak ada, and then so macam mungkin lepas ni akan ada sesiapa yang mendengar episod kita mungkin terfikir macam mana ya kalau saya nak hantar saya nampak anak saya mungkin ada semangat, dia suka berenang. So we know, for example, a lot of autistic people love the water, so they love to swim, right? And some have been able to swim in the, and we know they're like marathon runners and things like that. So it's something where again kesedaran, awareness in general needs to be built up, and more involvement from everybody. The community grows bigger, and then more opportunities will be available lah. Yeah.
And also we know that as what we already have now, the potential of our para athletes kan. So lagi ramai potential athletes yang kita jumpa nanti, who knows, we would win more gold kan.
Of course. But it's so interesting kan, there's so multiple categories for just one type of event, right? Because it's bergantung kepada what is the type of disability, and they're very technical about it, very technical about your physical disability, which limbs does it involve, and then ada tak sebagai contoh, ada tak atlet yang mungkin ada kombinasi physical dan juga intellectual or developmental, and so it's quite fascinating. There's many things that we can learn from it lah. But this is the time, because it, like especially Paralympics, right? Only happens once every 4 years. This is the time that we will hear more news and find out how, whatever opportunities there are out there in Malaysia and all that. I think this is when we need to start looking out and reading the papers and looking at stuff, because spotlight tu ada. Sekarang ni memang semua orang yang tak berapa minat,
betul,
ataupun maybe tak berapa ambil kisah sangat lah at all other times, tapi during this time semua orang macam interested lah kan.
And it's an interesting time sebab sekarang ni kita di tahun 2024, right? And this Paralympics started in 1948 kalau tak silap saya. So
48,
with the different types of categories and precisions that they've come up with since 1948 sampai sekarang, it has evolved with the times. Right? And so has the adaptive technology, the types of equipment used, and also the type of prosthetics used. Kan? So it has moved with the times, and I'm hopeful for Paralympians because now we have something called AI. Artificial intelligence, kan? So there's a lot more.
What can be contributed by
Let's see what comes in the
technology.
next 4 years. How is AI going to be in Paralympics?
Yeah, so as you guys said, now is the right time lah. Jom kita tonton TV, baca artikel kan, the coverage on the Paralympic Games untuk kita kenal, kita faham dan kita dapat tahulah apa acara-acara dan macam mana acara tu di dalam kategori yang berlainan kan. Dia macam saya cakap lah, macam renang tapi ada macam-macam kategori. Bukan macam kalau kalau yang biasa ada lelaki perempuan je. Yang ni ada kategori-kategori yang lain. Kan? And then kita ada atlet untuk banyak acara. Kita ada powerlifting, angkat berat. Kita ada atlet olahraga. Kita ada atlet badminton juga. So I think bowling pun kita ada. So jom kita sama-sama kenal apa acara yang ada. Of course dia mungkin akan berubah pada Paralympic akan datang, tapi at least kita tahulah what is available, apa yang disediakan oleh Paralympic organisation di Malaysia juga kan. Macam contoh kalau swimming tu that's macam pasti ada lah kan, sama ada physical ataupun disability yang lain memang ada acara swimming. So on that note, let's take a break and jumpa lagi selepas ni. Selamat kembali ke episod 29 Kita Family Podcast. Hari ini kita membincangkan tentang topik sukan. Jadi kita bila bercakap tentang sukan, kita terfikirkan tentang atlet, mereka yang menyertai pertandingan sukan. Tapi adakah sukan hanya untuk mereka? Maksudnya kalau kita ada bakat, kita ada potensi, hanya mereka yang boleh berjaya je yang patut tumpukan kehidupan dengan sukan. Macam tu ke? Ataupun sukan ni untuk siapa sebenarnya? Untuk kita tonton sahaja ataupun untuk kita sertai? Tapi sertai tu macam mana? Sebab yelah, nak main bola macam tak pandai, tak ada kawan. Badminton dekat rumah angin kuat. So sukan ni sebenarnya, in my opinion lah, kita cakap pasal sukan. Sukan tu adalah format dia, ada peralatan dia, ada peraturan dia. Bukan hanya untuk atlet. Sebab ingat tak dulu masa kita selalu masuk pertandingan akhir Piala Thomas, bila kita menang Piala Thomas tu, seluruh Malaysia dekat luar atas jalan main badminton. Ingat tak?
Yes, betul.
Badminton nak terpagar.
Kan? Yes, dekat pagar kan. Seorang kat luar, seorang kat dalam. So kita main over the pagar. So semangat sukan tu mungkin ada masanya bermusim, tapi sepatutnya sentiasa bukan sekadar macam sukan tu. Kalau macam guys kan dia suka football, macam ladies mungkin tak ramai yang suka menonton sukan. Tapi sukan ni sebenarnya bukan hanya untuk ditonton, bukan hanya untuk diminati, bukan hanya untuk players. Kalau kita main, barulah kita into the sports. Tapi sebenarnya sukan ni penting untuk semua orang, sebab kita bercakap tentang sukan bukan sekadar sukan kompetitif, tapi sukan sebagai satu aktiviti. Dan sukan kalau bukan sukan yang dalam bentuk yang ada peraturan dia, macam badminton kan kena main berdua, kena ada raket. Tapi kita juga boleh bercakap tentang senaman, exercise. Sebab sukan tu memang memerlukan banyak pergerakan, dan senaman pun walaupun tidak bersukan sangat penting lah. Jadi kalau you bersukan, automatically you bersenam. Except for e-sports mungkin tak berapa bersenam. Tapi okay.
Bersenam jari. Don't forget the finger movement.
I'm sure there has to be some core strength, support or whatever to stay in that
Yes.
position kan. Tak tahulah. Tapi no, you're right, because sukan is, when you talk about bersenam, of course we're talking about kegiatan fizikal, kecerdasan, all that. I think sebagai manusia, antara this thing, go back to my favourite word, fitrah, we are born to be people who are supposed to move.
Yep.
Kita memang perlu bergerak. Kita perlu and then kalau kita nak sebut tentang kesihatan, then of course it is very, very important, because there is kesihatan cardiovascular, right? Nak pastikan jantung kita, which is antara organ, the main organ that just keeps, when you die effectively is because your heart stops beating, right? So it's like a big one. And just because you are OKU, just because you are neurodivergent, doesn't mean you tak payah bersenam atau bersukan, I think this is a very, very important thing. You have to remember, because again, remember that you are a human being first. So if you are already dalam kategori sebagai seorang manusia, kita perlu bergerak, kita perlu aktiviti fizikal. And of course sukan is one of those things lah. And of course we can talk about so many benefits of it, right? Desiree, you want to jump in with like some of the benefits?
Yep, definitely. So dari segi movement, pergerakan, mereka yang punya anak-anak yang autistik kan, dengan masalah sensory, you need the sensory input from movement. Kan? Contoh anak saya sendiri, I always letak gambar dia dekat my social media. Dia akan letak gym ball dia di atas trampoline dan dia akan lompat atas bola tersebut. That is movement, kan? And because he can do it almost the entire day, I would consider that exercise for him.
Yeah,
right? And it's a movement that is craved by his senses, dan dia dah pandai. Our kids memang pandai lah. sebab they know how to get what their body needs, that movement kan. So make it available. I make it available for him. So I would consider this a sport for him.
Yeah, because in this case it's a therapeutic benefit,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
There is a therapeutic benefit. Maknanya ada manfaat dari segi like rawatan ataupun pemulihan. Kalau kita sebut tentang pemulihan, banyak berkaitan dengan aktiviti fizikal, right?
Betul.
Sebagai contoh, right? And of course I think we cannot avoid talking about not just kesihatan fizikal, but we know that the science today, kesihatan mental dan emosi pun dibantu oleh sukan, senaman, all these things. Because sometimes if your emotions, your brain, your mind, everything, all this, because it's connected. Sepatutnya kita memang takkan dapat memisahkan semua ini. And of course tak dapat terpisah dari badan kita yang secara fizikal. And sometimes when those things are not doing so well, you ask your body to support you, right? So your body is the one dulu yang like, okay, kita rasa macam maybe rasa down sangat, right? Or we're feeling very low, or like even if it's like anxieties, worries or whatever, then you get it out, right? Like you move your body, right? To help you regulate your emotions and all of this as well. It's like that whole mind-body connection works two ways. For example, we know that if you don't do certain movements and pergerakan as a baby, as a toddler and all that, then some neural pathways don't like make the full connection.
Primitive reflexes, they call it.
Yes, that's right. So
The
your
pincer
primitive
grip,
reflexes don't get developed
pulling,
because,
yeah.
and actually that came from movement.
Yep.
So I remember personally for me, before all my whole journey, everything, there was a time in my life when I thought the brain controlled everything, you know, but actually like it works.
It's interconnected. One
it's
cannot
interconnected.
function without the other.
Yeah, and sometimes the impetus for something will come from one before the other, and meaning it can come from the body before actually coming from the mind and the brain, right? So yeah, there's I mean so many things. You were talking about trying to get Hans to try out certain sports and things like that. I remember from different episodes.
Yep.
And why was that important to you?
For me, I've always had this, the fact that we knew he's autistic and he was a picky eater. So I was always afraid of other health issues that he could develop from picky eating. And he didn't eat as much as a regular kid would, but it's okay, he snacked on fruit, so that was fine. So even now, bila dah boleh makan segala-segala benda, including junk food and chocolate dan sebagainya, I still control it. I control it a lot sebab it's a health thing. Bukan sebab dia autistic saya tak bagi makan coklat. No, even if he's a regular kid, you still need to control the amount of sugar that they take, right? So sports was one of the things that we thought would be number one, of course,
dia
untuk
lah.
kesihatan.
Just sebagai manusia, right?
Dan movement, sebab like I said, he does exhibit the ability to move a lot and run, and dia boleh lari like the wind. So we thought, why not give him put him in football lessons. I think saya pernah ceritakan tentang ni kan.
Okay.
And only lately in the last month or so that we really came to the understanding of why the football didn't work.
Okay.
Initially we thought maybe dia tak suka dan sebagainya, but I think I've mentioned it in previous episodes. Sekarang Hans ada diagnosis tambahan, which is dyspraxia and dysgraphia. So dyspraxia bermaksudnya is a movement coordination disorder. Bukan bermaksud dia tidak boleh bersenam langsung. Tetapi
Pergerakan
sukan
tertentu
seperti football
ada cabaran dia lah.
memang cabaran because of the hand-eye coordination, and dia ada cabaran dengan ocular motor movement, that means the eye tracking. So memanglah susah untuk dia.
Carilah sukan yang lain.
So sekarang carilah sukan yang lain.
Carilah sukan yang lain. That's just alah, siapa-siapa neurotypical yang biasa-biasa pun tak semua orang pandai main semua game kan.
Memang Desiree tak pandai bersukan juga, so bolehlah dikatakan kaki bangku sedikit.
Tapi tak apa, you berzumba kan?
Berzumba, yes. Zumba is also bersenam.
So sebabkan pastikan di kalangan ibu bapa bila tengok anak-anak kita masa kecil-kecil kan hyper, suka nak keluar rumah, panjat sana, panjat sini, rasa macam susah tau nak bawa keluar. Saya dulu pun pernah rasa sebab ada 2 orang kan, pada fasa umur 2 tahun hingga 6 tahun tu susah nak kawal, nak bawa keluar pun nanti tak boleh tau, tak boleh terlepas pandang. Kena setiap saya tak boleh nak mengawasi 2 orang anak pada satu masa. Kena macam designated lah. Saya seorang, husband seorang. So kita rasa susah, tapi sebenarnya anak-anak kita macam dia cakap kan, badan mereka tahu apa yang mereka perlukan. Bila mereka pacing jalan tu, yang tu hanya minimal. Jadi bila kita bagi mereka buat yang lebih intens, boleh betul-betul lari di padang, pergi swimming, kita akan nampak kan dia punya steaming tu kurang sebab badan dia dapat kan. Dan kemudian the thing about autism, mereka adalah creature of habit. So amat penting untuk kita introduce benda yang mereka boleh buat. Maksudnya kita introduce, tak semestinya bila kita introduce tu confirm dia akan suka, dia akan enjoy kan. So kita introduce lah from satu, kalau tak sesuai, okay, move on to another. Bila mereka enjoy dan kita sediakan jadual, mereka suka. Mereka kalau betul-betul kena kan dengan jiwa, and then kita dah jadi habit, so dah after a while kan kita dah tak payah nak macam nak paksa-paksa dah. Macam contoh anak saya, Amy sekarang, tadi saya tanya dia dah berapa hari. Dia kata dah 26 hari berturut-turut dia buat satu program boxing dengan dia punya Nintendo Switch, dia punya game konsol. 26 hari tanpa skipping tau, tanpa ada hari
Tak
yang dia
putus.
miss. Tak putus. Memang hari-hari dia buat 26 hari. In fact ada sekali tu dia tengah, sebab dia buat depan TV kan, blackout tau. Jadi TV dah terpadam, dia ambil konsol tu, jadi tinggal kecil lah skrin tu, sambung buat, nak habiskan juga. Dalam gelap-gelap tu I datang bawa lampu
Masya Allah.
camping emergency,
That's so
dia nak
cool.
habiskan juga. So it shows that mula-mula nak start memang macam malam mama, why kan. Tapi bila dah dapat rentak dia dah dapat dia punya rutin, memang dia suka. Dia senang lah nak buat sebenarnya. Tapi to be honest, nak mula memang susah. Dan sebenarnya bukan kata anak-anak, kita sendiri bukan nak mulakan satu habit baru kan, bukan senang. And kita nak share juga dalam ni, bukan sekadar kita nak anak-anak kita bersenam, even antara kita pun kita share kan daily kita punya target hit ke tak. But kita tak adalah complicated like sukan apa ke apa. We started with something simple, kita kira steps kan. I think it's something that semua orang boleh cuba, sebab of course dia ada recommendation of at least 10,000 steps per day, tapi ada recommendation baru yang cakap 7,500 pun cukup lah. So bukan nak alasan, tapi we try every day kan, antara 7,000 ke 10,000 untuk keep ourselves active kan. So I think kita bukan sekadar fokus untuk anak kita aktif, anak kita bergerak, kita sebagai parents pun perlu aktif sebab kita pun nak sihat juga, betul tak?
Betul. Especially bila anak dah aktif, in a way secara langsung parents memang kena aktif kan. We need to catch up with our child, and that was one motivation for me personally beberapa tahun sebelum ni, sebab Hans was about 4-5 years old, memang sangat aktif. So I told myself, okay, I have to get up, I have to get fit, sebab kalau dia lari jauh, saya pun kena catch up dengan dia. You know, so that was my motivation to get fit at one point. And selain daripada mental health, blood circulation, movement is also, I think one important thing we can talk about is socialization, right? Building on social skills through exercise, improving self-esteem as well for our children. Kan? Sebab bila bergiat dalam sukan, like I think in the case of Amy kan, seperti Didi ceritakan tadi, Amy is very motivated kan, and I think it will boost her self-esteem sebab she knows she can do it. Kan, walaupun dia penat macam mana pun and from the score, so that really boosts
confidence. Confidence is something that can come bila kita dapat kemahiran yang baru. Usually kalau kita tengok, especially kalau kita sebut bab sukan ni kan, kalau dari segi masyarakat OKU, kita akan sebut like beberapa manfaat kan, because it's not just about the physical part of it, but also as you mentioned lah, the social side of it, and also the benefits to overall health, like we had mentioned lah, mental emotional wellness, and also I think sport can bring everybody together.
Yes.
So bersukan tu adalah satu cara di mana kita pun boleh bersama lah. And in fact there is one type of sport involving OKU. which is exactly that, unified sports. What's the definition of unified sports? It's like, for example, katalah ada pasukan bola sepak and then pertandingan atau permainan unified sports untuk bola sepak. The same team consists of neurotypical and neurodivergent or disabled, people, but they are together in the same squad, and that's fantastic, right? Because that's inclusion.
Yep.
That is like absolutely, that's inclusion at work. And so there are different things that I think we can kind of do, and sebenarnya boleh je kita boleh buat at the community level. There's so many things that can be done, whether it's like daripada kawasan perumahan kita ke, daripada whatever tempat duduk, like maybe it's your kampung, maybe it's your flat, maybe it's your neighborhood, maybe it's your kawasan perumahan, whatever it is. That's one. And of course schools. Does you want to share? We would say Kakak SK is not with us, but she was sharing that the
All
private
Abilities
school
Sports Day,
that her family is involved with. There's an All Abilities carnival and a sports day. And,
yes, I
what did
attended
they do?
it.
They organised well, actually, it's very popular growing sport right now, right?
It's pickleball.
Yes.
Right. I think I will leave it to Nuri to explain what pickleball is. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Dia macam badminton dengan ping pong combine lah. But why we brought it up, because there was an all abilities pickleball.
Yeah.
And they had unified doubles, and things like that. And bukan untuk just pelajar-pelajar di sekolah, they organize it for the community.
Yep.
So siapa-siapa pun boleh take part. And I think there were guys who were like involved in badminton, some other sports dengan wheelchair. They then join pickleball. Pickleball ni agak friendly. Kalau kita nak kira sukan yang melibatkan like racket or paddle, it's because the ball is a wiffle ball. It's like plastic. The paddle it's not really, it's more of a paddle than a racket. Ramai orang boleh main actually. It's like tak adalah macam memerlukan tahap kemahiran dan kelasakan orang main tenis, tapi boleh stylo je dengan tenis pun. But what was interesting, it was all abilities, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's a beautiful sort of
this is inisiatif yang memang dilakukan oleh masyarakat. Kita tak menunggu untuk tengok ada temasya atau apa-apa program yang harus keluar dari Kementerian Belia dan Sukan atau kerajaan. Just buat je lah.
Yeah, they did it because they wanted to, and they could, and they did it.
Yep.
Kan? And it was really nice.
Tak semestinya acara tu ada dalam Paralimpik, dalam Olimpik baru kita boleh buat, kita boleh main. We can be creative all we want, kan? Yang penting movement, and then bila sports tu ada kan dalam group sports, especially you ada rasa belonging, betul tak? You're part of a team, and then there's problem solving skills, your cooperative skill. So you bukan
I love to see those fun runs. I
I
think actually especially in Klang Valley, I think around Malaysia, to be fair, a lot of this kind of thing. Fun runs are great because you're like, bawa lah stroller dengan pram, anak-anak nak naik skuter pun naik skuter. Like smaller kids can just use that balance bike or whatever. It's like everybody just come.
Yes.
So the older people pun, of course, kita boleh bawa je dengan wheelchair. It's just, and fun run usually antara 3 hingga 5 kilometer is very doable.
Yeah. And they have those that to make it attractive. I've seen some that you can come in like a tutu
Costumes.
or with a wig or like unicorn run, so you can dress in funny outfits. And
Batik fun walk. Sorry, I have to mention that. That's one of my hats. But there's ada bertema-tema lah. Ada tema-tema untuk menarik berbagai jenis lapisan masyarakat dan manusia. Berdasarkan minat dia. So siapa macam maybe orang yang minat cosplay,
yes, exactly.
datanglah dengan your baju whatever, but move, right? Why don't you so I mean, Fit Malaysia was like, when that happened, that was also amongst the objectives. It was supposed to be fit for all, untuk semua, dan semua masing-masing bolehlah cari cara untuk menyertai apa-apa yang tahap yang dia minat. And because to be fair, yelah, tak semua orang akan suka aktiviti atau sukan yang sama, but kita dah tahu benda ni sangat perlu kan. And so that's what I want to say. I feel that kalau in our community, let's just take autistics for example, ada pada suatu masa where I think secara umum masyarakat pun tidak sedar tentang kepentingan untuk kita bersenam. Like exercise, we didn't realise how important it was for our cardiovascular health, our mental health also, but just like how important it was. And then I think the understanding was sebab susah sangat, macam tadi Didi sebut kan, dia pun berpengalaman sendiri, anak-anak sendiri pun ada satu tahap tu where it's like, wow, to get them to go out and do a structured activity or get them involved in something, mencabar kan. So I think dulu-dulu, and when families were not as aware, we of course didn't have access to like occupational therapy. Occupational therapy is very closely connected to physical movement, right? And a lot of people just tak pentingkan this kind of thing, and now we have a lot of adults in the community who have health issues.
Yeah.
They're overweight to the point of obesity. They have all these non-communicable diseases, and let's face it lah, kita tahu ni antara statistik yang memang tidak menyenangkan langsung, tapi ramai orang tahu Malaysia number 1 for all this kind of penyakit. All the non-communicable diseases, we are number 1. And that's a lifestyle related thing. And lifestyle means what? Lack of physical activity lah, and exercise. So I think we just have to remember and push that point again and again. Just as much as you want your child to be able to learn all the skills untuk, for example, dia dapat ke sekolah, we cannot leave this physical side out. And if we look at the example of our para-athletes, what is it finally that they ended up like doing in their life that gave it meaning, purpose, and mata, like it was like punca, like mata pencarian is
Yes.
it was something very physical. It was not academic at all. So imagine kalau dia tidak diberi peluang macam tu oleh the family and the parents tak galakkan, because that time the parents were like, okay lah, tak apa kalau dia tak strong sangat, I think they still did something for their kid, right? So there's so many reasons why sports, exercise and physical activities are so important for neurodivergence and people with disabilities. And like you were saying, more important.
Yeah, it might be more important sebab you need to, the movement is that much more important, especially for those who probably have mobility issues. You need to find a way to move other parts of your body so that you have proper blood circulation, for example.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, I feel it's that much more important for our friends who are disabled or neurodivergent to have that movement. And if I want to give a special shout out to parents like us. And like what Nuri says, semua manusia actually have to exercise. But when it comes to us parents who are caring for our children, who need extra support, we kind of need to be extra healthy ourselves.
Yep.
Right? So getting those regular health checks, I know I'm like
Broken
reminder
radio
for everyone that I know, like, did you do your medical this year? Did you do I'm like a parrot, I'll repeat myself. Because it's so important, right? Early detection of anything always helps. And eating right, we are Malaysians lah, memanglah suka makan. So
we
kalau
love
nak
our food.
makan
It's a
benda
tough
yang
one.
kita suka ni, bersenam lah. At least balance it out,
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't eat. We are Malaysians, we have to eat. It's in our DNA. Tapi bersenam lah, even if it's 15 minutes a day, even if you start with 10 minutes a day. And
Do something.
Do
Just
something.
do something. Just start.
Very easy to find an excuse not to do it, but in this day and age is also a lot easier to even do things dekat rumah. You don't have to go out. Like macam saya sekarang ni memang tidak berpeluang untuk pergi ke gym. I used to go horse riding at least twice a week. Sekarang tak ada peluang kan, because of my schedule. So I YouTube videos, and sebelum ni ada trainer online buat Zumba online in a group, tetapi that group sekarang sort of ramai don't show up and all that, so it's not worthwhile for the trainer. Tapi ada
Ada
video.
carilah orang lain.
Yes.
There are people who still do it.
And find some accountability buddies like we have, right? We check on each other
Yes,
once a
betul.
week.
So bila kita macam kurang semangat, malah adalah somebody that goes, buatlah sikit. Something lah, just do something. Because I think that will help from the mental side as well. Because kalau kita rasa kita tak buat langsung, kita start to feel like defeatist and guilty, and after that we're like, tak payah. But the science also has shown that if you do even a little bit, katalah your target was like 30 minit. Tapi tak kesampaian. Kalau you buat 3 minit tu pun, sekurang-kurangnya tak zero. Your brain doesn't feel as if like
Yes.
I did nothing, you know. There's a whole side of this whole just do something. Even like if it's a small thing. And then slowly build it up. It's like, it's habit lah. It's like istiqamah, for example, you know, which means to continue to persist with certain amount of discipline and regularity and just keep yourself there. And it can be very small, but it is very meaningful because it is consistent. And that's the other thing that we have learned. Jangan exercise 2 atau 3 kali seminggu sahaja untuk like 1.5 hours or whatever at the gym, and then all the other days you just makan, tak kisah, dan tak bergerak langsung, duduk aja. Like, you know, like say kerja kat office ke kat rumah tak bergerak langsung. They're saying that it's better for you to move just 30 minutes or something every single day versus cuma 2-3 kali seminggu, right? Even though it's short, because the regularity of stuff. I mean, there's things that we need to do every day, right?
Yep.
We don't just decide to like mandi twice a week. You know, it's like, it's your priorities lah in your mind, like what's important, not important. And look, I have to say, like, the opportunity to do this episode macam peringatan pada diri sendiri,
Yes.
because I've had so many lapses and so many things. It's like, okay lah, let's just do it lah, and then let's just amuse ourselves by pakailah baju sukan hari ni.
Esok pagi bangun, start back exercise.
Tak,
kita dah
hari
mula
ni
lah.
kita semua exercise. Hari ni exercise tak?
Dah.
Dah kan dah.
Saya
Before
baru
recording tadi
recover
dah.
from the flu, so that has been my excuse.
Okay.
Tapi
Tapi
esok
steps
pagi,
you banyak hari ni.
steps banyak hari ni sebab
Step sampai melangkaui 10,000 kan?
Yes.
What did you say just now? 11,000 or something?
Now sekarang 12,076 steps.
See? Okay lah.
Naik turun tangga dekat rumah pun considered steps and
Yeah,
movement.
of course.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Actually, if you just want to talk about steps, that's why it's like suhu pun okay lah macam cuaca kita. It's like sometimes you say, oh, Malaysia is too hot, it's too wet, this whatever. Akan ada lah segala jenis excuse, right? But you can just walk around the house, honestly.
Yeah.
Like if you feel like macam kadang-kadang kan we report to each other, go, oh my god, my step count was low. Lepas tu it's like, okay lah, pergilah jalan.
Betul.
Move around everywhere ke, like you know, running on the spot. Put on lah your whatever,
Trampoline.
watch lah.
Gunalah trampoline anak anda.
Whatever. Gunalah trampoline
I do
anak
that
anda.
sometimes to meet my steps.
What was the hack that we realized? You know, if you jump up and down, it counts as 4 steps instead of like walking one step. I don't know if I should be saying that.
Movement. The point is movement.
Conscious effort kan, kita ni tak tahulah, mungkin sebelum ni tak berapa berpengetahuan kita, and then kita tak ada pengalaman yang direct, tapi sebenarnya dengan ilmu knowledge yang kita dapat kan, orang kata, oh, if you exercise, you go out, you get some sunlight, you do walking every day, it gives mental boost kan, you jadi lebih tenang, you jadi lebih bersemangat. So kita selalu rasa macam until you ada experience tu baru you nak percaya. But tolonglah percaya that it works. Tolonglah percaya. Siapa yang tak pernah lagi,
Yes.
pada ibu-ibu
Percaya
yang belum
supaya
aktif,
kita start.
percayalah. Yes, sebab it does work kan. I pun bila memanglah baru lagi start, baru sebulan 2 start like increase walking and everything, it does macam, dia macam declutter your mind tau. You jadi lebih senang nak fikir kan. You nak make new decision. Benda-benda yang selama ni you rasa macam serabut lah, macam kena fikir lagi. But now you feel that you have a bigger capacity to handle all this stress. So yeah, it's not just for us parents, mothers, but also very very important to our autistic children, sebab diorang ni kalau kita biar je memanglah suka terperuk dalam bilik seorang-seorang, tak nak bercakap dengan orang, pergi sekolah balik sekolah, lepas tu tak nak bersosial apa sangat. Tapi we make them lah, jom keluar, jom pergi jalan-jalan, jom get some sunlight, jom macam Amy, okay, let's get see what you can do, like nak game exercise yang macam mana, okay, jom cuba. So those things are all conscious effort yang sebenarnya like Nori said, betul lah, dia fitrah, badan kita perlukan pergerakan, tapi somehow along the line we have evolved jadi species yang malas lah kan, makan sedap, lepas tu so now conscious effort, and then of course jom kita ambil semangat Paralympians kita, mereka yang ni bukan untuk kita jadi atlet. I don't know, ada kot atlet sukan untuk veteran ke apa ke, like maybe
Yeah.
who knows,
Actually, maybe
kita
the
kan,
last thing we should sorry Didi, I mencelah. Ada antara I think kita jangan lupa untuk sebut untuk memang especially ibu bapa, family yang hendak bantuan tambahan supaya anak dapat bersenam bersukan and all that. I think we can maybe mention a few options that are out there and some initiatives. Maybe lepas kita dah sebut ni, ada harapan juga that orang akan bagi tahu, sebenarnya kat sini pun kita ada group ni, you know, maybe there's somebody doing something in like East Coast, Kelantan, Terengganu, because at the moment I don't have that kind of data, but it would be good, right, to share
betul.
efforts from people who have you know, certification, qualification to do sports for people with disabilities. You know, ada juga yang sports for autistics. Like, well, I want to mention my brother-in-law because also he's been a great uncle for Timor. But you know, dia memang dari segi kerja dia adalah you know, a fitness coach for both conditioning and performance. But in 2021, you know, with the pandemic, this and all that, like, I think a lot of good coaches and trainers, they will always upskill themselves.
Yes.
Kan? Dia akan ada perkembangan baru dari segi sports science, and then of course, ada trending things lah. Kadang-kadang ada certain kind of exercise, whatever semua orang minat, so then a coach or a trainer will want to upskill themselves, right? But he chose to upskill himself to become somebody who could do adaptive sports for autistics. You know, so he did an autism specialist expert certification. He was able to do it online. So boleh aja buat online. So I'm going to plug him. It's called Galanty Fitness, and he now can train. Actually, he's got a lot of kids in general, but also can train autistics. And this is something where if you already have your baseline certification, adalah kemahiran sebagai seorang trainer atau coach, boleh aja ambil kursus ni. And I think it was like 20 hours, a few modules, exams, whatever. Sama lah seperti kita nak upskill untuk buat modul-modul lain. So kita kan selalu sebut kita punya wish list, kita punya harapan. So of course my harapan out there is, katalah ada di antara siapa-siapa yang mendengar dan memang sudah ada minat dan semangat dan kemahiran sebagai seorang trainer atau coach, please consider to upskill yourself to be able to work with people with disabilities or neurodivergence, right? I mean, if you love a sport especially and you believe in, like, you know, sports for all and stuff like that, why don't you be part of the solution or the effort untuk membolehkan lebih ramai orang dapat bersukan dan bersenam sama-sama. It would be so great, right? It's like, again, it's available online. It's not like, I kena pergilah certification dekat Thailand ke Australia ke entah apa-apa. Now there's many things you can
do online.
And your skill level is already there. You're just trying to learn a little bit more about individuals who are, you know, neurodivergent or with disabilities. And I think these days, sports science, there is a module for the adaptive sports. Right? We've worked with, our kids' gym has worked with UiTM in Perlis, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, in our family, we went to the point of bringing a kids' gym. You know,
all the way
we
from
opened,
the US.
we opened the kids' gym. We rocked the Spectrum gym for all kids. Memang kita sebut all kids because you know, we don't believe there should be any like sort of obstacles or like anything stopping a child from being able to come and play in like a fun gym atas dasar keupayaan, right? So it's for all kids. Tak kira lah dari segi apa-apa keupayaan, datanglah bersama-sama kat kids gym, boleh main bersama-sama, belajar bersama-sama, and then, you know, all the kids learn and grow together. And that's again inclusion at work. And then you build that, you know, sense of community, and kids get the chance to play. So we only touched a little bit on the social benefits, but sebenarnya is agak besar.
The social part is big.
And the natural setting like play is when these kind of things happen. And anak-anak neurodivergent, antara, you know, certain types of diagnosis, dia memang memerlukan like real life experience to understand, taking turns to understand, sharing. I think all little kids do to some degree, but you know, like our kids need a bit more.
Yes.
right? So you give them settings like that. But tak semua tempat yang inklusif. Ada tempat di mana macam, of course our kids don't feel so welcome. Maybe it's not even their intention not to welcome our kids, tapi sebab dia tak ada kesedaran, so dia tak akan buat set up atau dia tak akan buat benda-benda yang memudahkan sedikit lah untuk anak-anak seperti anak kita untuk dapat bermain bersama and things like that, right? But there's so many ways lah.
Yes.
There's so many different things can be done, and you have some other groups to share, right? People who are also doing this. We
Yes.
talk about a friend of ours in the community,
Yeah, our mutual
J8.
friend J8. So if you go to Instagram or Facebook, boleh jumpa J8, the number
We'll
8.
put again all these
Autism
things in our notes
Athletics.
nanti.
Yeah, so they are generally sports coaches that have gone and upskill themselves with some kind of certification or additional training on how to work with autistics. So they have a variety of sports that they do, football being one of it. I think they were planning to start on swimming. I'm not sure if they started yet, but
They
that
have
was
basketball.
they have
also
basketball,
have
badminton.
different training.
Yeah,
And
they
they're
do.
working with Decathlon.
They work
so
with
actually you can
Decathlon.
go to a Decathlon and probably do something together with like J8.
Yes, they do
And-
one-to-one personal training and coaching
small
as well, and small group. And so it's not just for children, for adults as well. So like if you have an adult who's autistic who needs a bit of movement, and we all know not all our kids listen to mama and papa, why not try a trainer who's going to help them get moving
Yeah.
a little bit?
No, recently I had the privilege of participating in a program at UCSI, and it was called Traditional Martial Arts for All. So then we suddenly find out that there's a lot of different traditional martial arts practitioner, and macam-macam lah. Taekwondo, silat, karate, aikido. Ada yang inklusif. Right here, at least this one, was for Klang Valley lah. So I hope after this we can learn about some other things that are available for the rest of the country. Tapi memang ada kelab-kelab, persatuan, pasukan-pasukan yang memang mengalu-alukan kehadiran individu yang neurodivergent and they will make the effort to make sure that your child or young person is included, that they'll ada. So again, it's like yelah, kita berusaha rajin nak cari sikit, but hopefully lepas ni more will reach out lah. Then we want to be like, for kita family, we want to also help to sometimes like connect the dots and the bridges and things like that.
We also had a list of online courses that can be done to upskill. Like if you are coaches or trainers, so maybe we'll drop those options.
There's going to be one
into
of the episodes where
Yes.
we're going to have a bunch
Yeah.
of things to,
Or I'll find a
insyaAllah,
way
share
to
lah.
maybe create a page, and now a new page on Project,
Project
Hans,
Hans can
and
also
list
have
all these
specifically related to
Yeah.
sports and
down.
exercise.
So, we can list all that down. So as a resource.
Nanti Didi kena cari apa yang ada di KK dan di Sabah.
I would like to add on the wish list kan, kita nak harapkan ramai coaches, trainers yang upskill, and then kita harapkan mereka mengadakan program-program yang sesuai untuk anak-anak, bukan sekadar anak-anak lah, everybody, all OKUs, neurodivergence, dan saya juga nak harap
Semua peringkat
corporate-
umur.
Ya, semua peringkat umur, corporate bodies to sponsor, to subsidize some of these programs because
Yes.
I love it.
untuk
Sokong.
Yes, untuk anak-anak neurodivergent kan, sports are very important, not because untuk fulfill time. No, it's not. The benefits are more than that. It's for them to develop their mind, their physical. As Desiree said, everything is interconnected. So for them to be better, to develop further, they need this, they need to be in a group.
Janganlah
setting.
sponsor elite athlete saja.
Yeah. and macam anak-anak saya kan, they went for swimming classes masa kecil lagi. So this bila untuk OKU, kita kena bagi, macam untuk anak-anak saya perlu one-to-one class. Tak boleh nak group lesson kan. Bila one-to-one, it cost more. And then-
Mahal. Tu jadi kekangan to the
Mahal.
sport again. Yeah.
Yes, sedangkan mereka ni perlukan latihan yang lebih. And then I would really encourage lah neurodivergent families kan to try swimming, sebab swimming ni bukannya kita perlu sentiasa hantar kelas sampai dah besar. Dia bukan macam kelas membaca. You dah pandai, lepas tu you bolehlah bawa pergi swimming. Bawa sendiri, tak perlulah pergi kelas lagi dah. Just to get them to be able to swim. Even tak perlu pun
Water
perlu
safety.
Yes,
exactly, water safety. And then their body awareness also improve, and their core strength. Sebab I can see kan pada my anak kan, sebelum dia pergi swimming, masa tu dia baru start potty training tau. Dia macam jadi frustrated sebab dia tak boleh hold kencing. Kejap-kejap nak kena pergi toilet. So jadi frustrated lah, kita baru nak practice, tapi rupanya sebab dia punya core muscle tu tak kuat lagi. And at the same time, kita pun not intentionally because of that, tapi memang start swimming class. So bila dia start swimming, and then dia boleh hold the bladder longer.
Oh, ada clear direct improvement to that.
Yeah. After that, dia boleh hold the bladder longer. So tak adalah frustrated sangat. You just imagine kalau every 1 hour you kena pergi toilet, macam dia pun rasa macam baik aku pakai diaper je, sedang. Macam tu tau.
Kesian, yeah.
So
banyak manfaat, and that one was an unexpected benefit kan?
Yes. And then of course like you said, water safety. Sebab bila dia tak ada awareness yang air boleh jadi dalam, boleh jadi cetek, mereka macam nak terjun je. Tapi once dia dah ada latihan, dia pun macam dah selalu pergi swimming pool, dah tak heran dah. Tak adalah kolam ikan pun dia nak terjun masuk ke. So very important. And itu contoh-contoh program yang saya nak sangat corporate bodies dapat sponsor, because ini bukan satu yang mewah tau. Anak-anak autistik pergi swimming bukan satu aktiviti mewah. It's not a luxury activities. It's a necessities untuk dia punya water safety, and then dia punya development of dia punya physical juga. So really hope that we get more sponsors, and it's available for most, if not all, most kids lah. And of course, it's not just for autistic lah, for every children. Of course, patut pergilah swimming lesson. Sebab kerana anak saya pergi swimming, dan saya nak bawa anak saya pergi swimming, saya pun pergi swimming lesson masa anak saya dah mula belajar. I went there at the age of, what was it, 30, I was already like over 30 years old. So I went lah, tak pernah ada swimming suit. Okay lah, carilah yang muslimah punya apa semua. So we kena lebih lah effort. Memanglah macam it's not natural. Rasa macam boleh ke, perlu ke. Tapi it's part of the ni lah. Takkanlah you dah ajar anak you swimming, lepas tu you nak biar je dia swim sendiri dalam pool. You at least have to be in the pool lah. Walaupun if I ever have to save them, I think I would just run in the water lah. It's not that I would swim.
Tak apa, I think now they can save you.
Lifeguarding course tu lain Doesn't mean you dah belajar berenang, you senang-senang je boleh menyelamatkan orang ke.
It's a
But I know
different skill.
just the simple things lah. Even in a child's pool, you want to be able to feel confident to just masuk air.
At least you enjoy it lah. You enjoy lah. You pun rasa you boleh jugalah. Tak adalah macam you pay so much for the children punya ni kan. Sebab because I bukan I bukan autistic, so I think I paid less. I think my fees was not as much as them. So
no, also you know lah, our children, and they are very smart questions. If they know how to do something, so mama tahu. Dan kalau kata dia boleh, tiba-tiba mama dia tak boleh, dia macam why? Like why do I have to do this? You don't do it.
Betul. So not that I am a better swimmer than them. Diorang lagi lah like I would say anak macam otter tau, memerang dalam air, the way they just glide in water. So let's find lah what our children likes, enjoy, so that they ada cara, ada outlet untuk they keep active kan. Sebab bila kita minat, kita akan lebih enjoy lah untuk buat selalu. And also bila kita minat sesuatu dan kita pergi cari group yang minat dengan benda yang sama, contoh kalau suka main badminton, pergi club ataupun pergi main badminton dengan orang lain, then to form friendship tu it will become easier because of the common interest. So sports as a common interest also is a big thing lah. So
yes, it's there was a nice quote from one of these I think the certification programs for adaptive sports and all that, some of them are like by very, very big institutes, okay, like the American College of Sports Medicine. And the quote from somebody there was like, when you learn adaptive coaching and training for a person with a disability, guess what happens? It makes you a better coach and trainer for everybody.
Yes, it's true.
It's so true because we
It's
have
so
discovered that
Yep.
for ourselves, right? I mean, we realized that we picked up certain life skills. And then for those of us who have both neurodivergent and neurotypical kids, it's like all the skills because we have to make it universal.
Yep.
So of course benda tu applicable untuk anak kita yang typical juga or whatever. You just become better. I
Correct.
think, right?
Example,
so there's so
and-
many
yeah.
benefits again
Correct.
untuk orang yang get involved. Kononnya you think you might be helping or supporting somebody, but there is a benefit to you
Correct.
to be the one to gets involved, that supports a person with a disability or a neurodivergent individual. So do it for you.
Well, we talk about sukan, exercise, benefits of it. I really hope that kita semua dapat belajari sesuatu dan jangan lupa untuk terus beri sokongan kepada kita punya athletes, not just in Paralympic, of course in other sports as well. Semangat kita kan Malaysia ni memang selain daripada makanan, kita disatukan juga oleh sukan. Kan? Walaupun tak main lah, minat je, but still sukan. Kalau makanan tu kita makan kan, makan sama-sama makan nasi lemak, roti canai, but still sukan menyatukan kita sebagai Malaysians. Untuk pengetahuan semua, podcast kita tersedia di YouTube untuk ditonton dalam bentuk video dan juga dalam bentuk audio di Spotify, dan kami juga ada di media sosial seperti Instagram, Facebook dan TikTok. Boleh follow, like, subscribe dan juga tinggalkan komen, feedback kepada kami tentang apa-apa pendapat ataupun nak beri cadangan. Kami memang akan baca semua komen dan insyaAllah akan cuba juga untuk membalas beberapa komen yang ada. Terima kasih kerana terus memberi sokongan kepada podcast kita Family. Terus berikan sokongan, kongsi snippets kami, posting-posting kami dan video-video kami yang mungkin anda rasakan boleh memberi manfaat kepada mereka yang lain yang belum pernah mendengar tentang Kita Family, sebab Kita Family is not just about family yang ada anak neurodivergent, tapi kita nak meraihkan inclusivity semua orang lah, kepelbagaian kan, seperti yang kita telah bincangkan dalam kita punya introduction. Kita nak meraihkan kepelbagaian yang ada di Malaysia. Jadi boleh terus kongsikan sebab ramai lagi yang tak pernah dengar tentang Kita Family Podcast. Sebab kita nak family ni menjadi lebih besar dari sekarang kan. Jadi don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and everything. Until then, any last word from Nori and Desiree?
I think we're good. Thank you
We're
so
good.
much.
Go
Sports
and
for all.
work out today.
Yes.
Dah malam, besok I ada flight pagi. Okay, go Malaysia. Good luck, all the best to the athletes. Until kita berjumpa lagi dalam episod yang akan datang. Terima kasih. Bye. Selamat malam.
Bye.
Selamat malam, selamat pagi, selamat petang whenever you're watching this, listening to us. Bye.